As usual, Patreons, hello. Welcome to the next episode. We'll get on with the intro in a minute.
Yeah, I'm playing the part of Clark Kent. I got my glasses on, so I'm smarter now.
If you say so.
And everything's a blur. I mean, look at these things, man. You look it up and you see the Hubble telescope, you know.
I actually still can see you fairly well. I just couldn't read too well. I can read On the Trail with Kevin and Scott because the letters are 2 inches tall. Actually, there's one thing we need to do just for the sanity of the rest of the household. I am going to close the doors.
Close the doors, yeah. And he's a closing. Yes, he is. He's a closing. Do, 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 do. As he closes one of those doors, here we go. Yeah, that's what I do.
You know, I'm leaving all this in for the Patreons.
I know, that's why I did it.
Actually, my wife and I were watching one of the last ones that we set up and I sent out, and we were both roaring at the pre-show. I was like, okay, maybe there is a chance at humor, since we both have a face for radio.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, especially now with my smart glasses on. Smart glasses. I didn't say the other word.
I didn't say a thing, nor did I even think it. You're the one that came up with that one. I will have to get used to the fact that, folks, he forgot a piece of normally critical equipment, and I didn't have a spare, but we did have sort of a spare. I'm
like a teenage kid.
Yeah, he is. The antique set of Apple earbuds.
For those of you who've seen the Empire of Dreams special, the Star Wars making of Star Wars, there's a point where they had to put a earpiece in Mark Hamill, right? And so that way he could hear the guy, Frank Oz, talking with Yoda. And he's halfway through a take and he goes, "Hey, I got the Stones," because it picked up a radio station. So right now I'm literally listening to something. I don't know what I'm listening to. Do 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 do. Yakadada, yakadada.
And on that note, shall we begin?
Is this 109?
Yes, it is.
Okay, good. I did math.
And it is not a Messerschmitt 109.
Do me 109s come out of the sun? Iron Maiden. Sorry. Turning, diving, doing it again. Sorry. It's a good song. Aces High.
I got no problem with the song. It's just hearing you sing it.
And my voice, too. For some reason, I still lost my voice.
You're still kind of gravelly there.
A little bit, yeah.
Why don't you start this one, since you're in such a jolly humor?
Flatulent giraffe. Hey, listeners, welcome to another episode of On the Trail with Kevin and Scott, show 109. That's right, it is show 109. It came after 108. It's before 110. It's going to be 109. So with that...
Don't lose that number, Billy.
Don't lose that. I am Scott, the slapstick parts guy. We owe him money now. Thanks, way to go. The slapstick parts guy, and the guy who works at the dealership, and the guy who handles parts and takes care of everything that we do. And I don't use Zip. Actually, you know what? Hold on. I have to back up now. I can actually use I have my own torque wrench now.
Yes, you do.
I have my own torque. So thank you,
Actually,
Kevin.
It's not a torque wrench, but,
Hey, it's better than what I had.
Yes,
so,
which was nothing.
And so, yeah, and sitting, forget it, words. And sitting directly across from me, good morning, Patreon, is Kevin, my co-host. Kevin?
Hey, folks. Welcome to the next episode of On the Trail. As he said, I'm Kevin, the engineer, the guy who, as I always tell you, I typically read instructions, use the right tools, and usually follow those instructions unless I'm deliberately being creative. We are, as he said, just in case you didn't hear it from Scott, we are on show 109.
What?
And more importantly, it is 2 weeks into a year that's not 2020. And so yes, we are all dealing with true 2020 hindsight right now.
Yeah. Okay. But, and just remember, kids, if you don't like your trial membership of 2021, if you've lost your receipt, you can't take it back. So while we will share with you what works and as well as what didn't, like most of my jokes today, remember, it's always up to you to do your research, read the instructions,
and please follow those instructions.
That's right. No matter if they're a bouncing ball across the screen or whatever.
So what we want to talk to you guys about, and Scott and I have actually been going back and forth for good grief, several hours now on this topic.
Well, going back and forth,
discussing it. And when I say going back and forth, not
we had
an
a pool noodle fight is what we did.
We had to come up with exactly how to deal with this because we don't want anybody getting the wrong ideas on this subject.
What, you don't want to record a second show again for the pregame like we did with the other one where I lost my cool? Come on. The listeners love that.
Yeah, but then I had more editing. You had more editing.
Twitch.
So anyway, folks, I'm sure if you haven't by now, you must not be on any social media at all, but
which is not a bad thing.
Yeah, it may not be. It may be where I should be right now, because even I, the guy who doesn't pay attention to social media, heard it from under the Jeep.
Well, not only that, if you're on Newsweek.
Yeah, that blew my mind. And that, of course, is this whole warranty issue and whether trail rated and deep mud and warranties go together.
Do not mix.
Well, and that's the question. Do they mix or do they not mix? Yeah. And it's a highly, highly opinionated subject. And I have seen much flame breath on the interwebs. Yeah. For and against. And I was just like, really? Wow. We are not going to try to answer it, nor are we going to throw you into a tailspin saying we agree with FICA or we agree with the owner.
Here's
what we're going to do is...
Well, I do want a byline. Here's what I say. Just like when we talk about doing your research and doing everything else, we all don't have the variables. We all don't have the information. So I'm going to bow out. I have my opinion, but like Kevin says...
It's an opinion.
Yeah.
And that's really what a lovesick possum does. They opine.
Oh, God. Even my stomach went to that one.
Hey, come on. It's the best I can do. I'm an engineer. Even my jokes have to have technical merit.
See, now I'm trying to work in Pine for those massage therapists out there,
Okay. Well, that's what lawyers of...
Okay. All right. Come on. We're losing them.
Anyway, folks, we weren't there. We haven't seen the Jeep other than the pictures. You've got the crackly cable today.
Yeah, it's me. Yay.
And
engineering.
And so we're not going to pass judgment.
No.
But what is the root of this problem, if we want to call it that? And that we are going to touch into is, what in the heck does trail rated really mean? Yeah,
because there's a lot of calls for, take that badge off, whatever. And it's like, okay, well, what does that badge mean?
Okay, what does that badge mean? And it's an interesting quandary. Okay, everybody, I've seen the posts out there, Scott, I'm sure you have too. Oh, it's just a marketing ploy. It doesn't mean anything. And it's a random whether it's stuck on the Jeep side or not stuck on the Jeep side.
Yeah.
And so I was like, really? Let's go find out.
Yeah, let's go a deep dive.
So we did a little bit of a deep dive into Chrysler's trail rated badge.
I will say this though, for those of you who have the different badges, like the taco rated badge.
Yeah, that does not apply here.
Well, no, we all know that street tacos are greater and better than like regular tacos, okay? Because the street tacos have like that meat and the cilantro and the onion and the lime. Okay, now I'm hungry again. But anyways, so or donut rated or whatever rated badge, you can come up with your own dreams on that. I'm gonna have one there going. It's gonna have sleep rated because I don't have any sleep.
So what I'm doing is I'm trying to do two things at once, and the Patreons can see that, but. First off, trail rated and trail rated badges are not a creation of FICA.
No.
Not even their predecessors. It is an honest-to-God independent rating system put together by the Nevada Automotive Testing Corporation.
Or Center.
Right? Or Center.
NATAC, as we're calling it.
Yeah, NATAC. They do exist, and they have several locations, and they have a website. So if you guys want to look into what NATAC is, I would tell you to go to natc-ht.com. And you'll get a neat screen that says the future of automotive testing.
Yes.
And when you go down and you can look at the who are we, and there's a who are we little flip on the back,
yep,
as well as what we do. There's all kinds of neat stuff. They're out in Carson City, Nevada. They have an office in Stafford, Virginia. I know where that is, just south of Washington, D.C. I've been in Stafford many, many times.
Yep.
And then they have a branch in Michigan, in Detroit, which doesn't surprise you, given the fact that they do a lot of work. And what they do is they do pioneering. They develop new equipment for the military. You'll see, I see the MRAP on this thing. I see other things like that. They do testing, fuel economy, fuel consumption for the over-the-road haulers. They do engineering, modeling, and simulations, mobility solutions. And gee, what's on the picture of the mobility solution?
A Jeep TJ.
A Jeep TJ, an orange Jeep TJ. They also do something that really was a surprise to me.
Yeah.
How many of you guys have been on a number 6 rated trail or a number 10 rated trail? And have you ever wondered where the heck that number 6 or number 10 came from?
Yeah.
It came from these folks. And they have their acronym is V-TRCS, or Vehicle Trail Rating Classification System. And they develop the trail rating guides that we use.
Right.
Now, the interesting thing is they'll tell you all about what they did.
Yeah.
That it's a 1 through 10 system. And I have to brag a little bit on my TJs. Is you look at the picture that they show there, and they show 2 TJs in the rocks.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And they talk about how they did it. And the biggest thing they tell you is contact us if you want to know what the trail ratings actually mean, because it is a for-profit business.
Correct.
Now, most of us are pretty well accustomed to and used to the fact that if we know, okay, that's a number 2 rated trail, a number 1 rated trail, pretty much a fire road, number 2, up to a number 10 is kind of king of the hammer stuff.
Right.
And we learn it by reference as opposed to literal details. But they cover issues in that trail. This is for the trail rating, not the badge, but the actual physical trails themselves.
Correct. Yeah.
And they talk about fording, articulation requirements, maneuverability, agility, etc. that's required to get through this. From that, and this is my inference, kind of handed off to Chrysler's trail system. Okay, their badging system. They and NATC kind of came up with a standard.
Yeah.
And it wasn't for the vehicle, it was this trail. The vehicle must be able to handle this level of trail, these types of obstacles, this depth of water. Now, both Chrysler and NATC are coy. They don't want to publish those numbers. So you can't really get a direct referral to it.
Yeah.
But it's not an arbitrary system in the sense that it's just a sticker that the sales decide we're going to put a fancy logo on the side of the vehicle and put a sticker on it and call it trail rated.
It actually means something.
It actually means something. So it does mean something. Now, here comes the crux of the whole issue that has come up with this issue, this whole gladiator and mud thing.
Yeah.
If you don't know the system, whose responsibility is it to not avoid that system? Okay.
Exactly.
And it'll be I have no way to make a comment on that, because that's a judgment call in the legal courts. I know where I think it will go.
Yeah.
And there are going to be some unhappy Jeep owners, in my opinion, when it's all said and done. But let's talk about it a little bit, about trail rated. And what have we seen? And Scott and I have quite a few years of playing with Jeeps, seeing Jeeps. Scott's seen even more with seeing them repaired. And I think the easiest place to start is going to be the Jeep's ads. And that's what people say. Well, see this ad here. What you brought up one?
Oh yeah, the one where Dad was doing donuts around Mom and the kids, and a gladiator with the top down, literally doing donuts in the mud.
In a mud donut. Never is. See, it was in the mud. Well,
yeah, but
yes, it was. How deep was that mud?
Here's the variables, kids.
Here's the variable. I will tell you that in my observations, and the Patreons can see on a little computer screen behind me that there's a Jeep in on a trail rated course, and it's in water. And there's a couple things to note. The water is no deeper than hub deep, so center of the wheels.
Yep.
And they are not blowing through it splattering it everywhere.
At 100 miles an hour.
Yeah. And Jeep's warranty talks about that, you know. And trail rated means the vehicle is capable of making a certain level of off-road. And off-road can mean anything that's not a maintained improved road surface, gravel, dirt roads. If it's a road that's maintained, that's a road. All right. Off-road technically can be the soccer field, you know.
And that's exactly it.
And I'm not saying that's excuse me, that's where Chryslers kind of draw the line. They're not, but they show what I would call getting from point A to point B as their trail definition. And that's my opinion, strictly mine. I'm not trying to say this is what Chrysler based it on, but if you look at their ads, the rocks they're going over are rocks. They're not boulders, okay? And there's really no clear definition. Everybody has their own opinion of what is a boulder versus what is a rock. You know, are all rocks boulders? No, but all boulders probably are rocks. They're just really big rocks.
Really big rocks,
So, but you look at the rocks they're climbing over, you know, and even to the point that you can't judge it by a single rock, you know, how they're laid up. You know, I can pile up rocks and climb over them that individually I wouldn't be able to get up to.
Right.
So you're looking more at what is the axle articulation, what is your approach angle, your breakover angle in the middle, and your departure angle. And again, looking at most of the adverts that I see them crawling, they're not going over massive belly scraping, bumper scratching.
A lot of it's river stones.
River stones, or, you know, more of something that's not going to reach up and grab something.
It's basically watered down, and I hate to say that, but it's watered down to show a capability that you won't get a Honda Civic over.
Correct. You won't get a Honda Civic. You won't get a minivan. You won't get a lot of things over it. Everybody says, well, that's not what I bought the Jeep for. Well, okay, I get that.
Yeah.
But the Jeep, you know, let's go back all the way to the Jeep Origins. I kind of have to chuckle about that. Everybody points to the pictures of the Jeep and its approval writings where the guy's pulling the trailer across the washboarding.
Yeah.
What you didn't see probably was right after that the rear end fell out of it. And the thing is, you look at the battle of pictures of the Jeep that's burning. You know, the guy's driving it out and it's flames roaring off the back end in a firefight. That Jeep was not warranted, I don't think. You know, it was left beside once he got out of the firestorm. The carcass of dead Jeeps that was littered across Europe during World War II and the Philippines and Malaysia and Burma and the hump, there was a lot of damaged Jeeps back then. Mm-hmm. They were trail rated by all means, you know, and they took a heck of a lot of trails, but they took casualties. Yeah. And if we're going to treat our Jeeps like they're in a combat situation, you might expect a few casualties.
Yeah.
And it's not reasonable, in my opinion. Again, my opinion, you can send me the hate mail. That's not a warrantyable thing, you know. Yeah. And if you read the warranty, Scott, do you have that clause handy?
Yeah, actually I do have the clause. And what I'll also kind of sum up real quickly and talk about, again, because I see this all day long at my job.
Yeah.
Warranty is defined by a defect in manufactured parts. In other words, or there's a defect in manufacturing the part. The part has failed because it was manufactured improperly.
Correct.
That is a warranty.
Installed improperly or whatever. I realize
from the factory. But again, and this will pretty much sum it right up. It's 3.8 in the Jeep Owner's Manual. FCA US LLC may restrict the warranty on your vehicle if the vehicle is not properly maintained, comma, or if the vehicle is abused or neglected, comma. And the above or neglected, and the abuse or neglect interferes with the proper vehicle function. I can't read today, guys. Sorry.
Because you're reading to the bottom of your glasses.
Yeah, pretty much. And the abuse or neglect interferes with the proper functioning of the vehicle. If the warranty is restricted, coverage may be denied or subject to approval by FCA US LLC before covered repairs are performed.
And before the hate mail stops, you'll find that clause in virtually every vehicle's warranty, Jeep or other.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. So if you hit like me, I'm going to use me, not the issue that's being flying around the internet. If I went out, which I did, and hit a mud hole for the fun of it, which I did, and didn't realize that it was going to pack the radiator full of mud and cause the Jeep to overheat and require me to get a flatbed to get home, which it did, that is not a warrantable failure of the radiator. There was no manufacturing defect, no defect in the product, in the installation, or of the operation of it. It was a defect in the operation by the owner. And so if you drive deep enough in water to flood the alternator, okay, we don't use underwater alternators in our Jeeps.
No.
Okay, so there is a reasonable level. If you go out and you build one of those Jeeps, if you guys have ever seen the great southern sport of sippy hole racing,
swamp buggies
and sippy holes, you'll know that there's a class of Jeeps that guys strip the Jeep down and they waterproof everything, and they sit in it with, some of them even wear oxygen tanks, because they get down to the point where they're flying through this sippy hole, and the deep spot's probably 8 foot deep as fast as they can. And they got to finish, and a lot of them don't. Well, okay, that's basically a ventilated submarine. And
it's like a screen door in a submarine.
Yeah, some modification was required. Same sort of a thing if you go to the mud bogs and watch the Jeeps, the four-wheel drive Jeeps with the big blown engines, and some modification for heavy mud was required at speed. Now, on the other hand, I've got videos here of a Jeep Gladiator.
Actually, on the FCA Proving Grounds.
Yeah, FCA Proving Grounds. And you know what? It looks like a lot of trails I've done in Georgia and Tennessee with you.
Yeah.
And there is a mud hole. And the Rubicon, it's a red 2020 Gladiator Rubicon going through that mud hole. That mud is up to the wheel center line pretty well.
And comes up to the bottom of the front bumper.
Yeah, front bumper's doing a little bit of snow plowing of mud, and they make it through. The key is they didn't hit the road at speed. It's probably
didn't hit it like a skipping stone.
What are they doing? Maybe 15 miles an hour?
If that. Yeah,
10 to 15 through that, which I'll be honest, in any condition where I'm crossing where I can't see what's in front of me, I'm not going to hit it hard.
Yeah, there could be a boulder, you name it underneath.
Well, think about the ice cream man's property there where we drive down the creek, and it's every third thing is boom, 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 bang, boom, bang.
Yeah, no.
You cannot see the bottom.
No.
The Jeep in front of you made it, but you can also you learn to drive not by where your tires are, but what his are doing.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you see the whole right side of the Jeep disappear. It's like, what? No, maybe I better cross a little bit to the left side.
Yeah. That's when you get out of the Jeep every time. It's like, man, is that burnt clutch? No, those are burnt shocks.
Yes. So, what is trail rated? Well, unfortunately, trail rated comes with this basic qualifier. It's not written anywhere, but in my lexicon, it's common sense.
Well, and not only that,
you have to remember that trail rating is about getting the vehicle through the trail. When you're out yeehawing the Jeep, I don't know any other way to put it. This is getting right on the edge of. I've seen a lot of guys do it, a lot of guys and girls. I mean, heck, my daughter, one thing she wanted to learn how to do when she got her Jeep was how do I do rooster tails?
Yeah, I remember that.
And Dad went out and taught her. Okay, because it's a fun rite of passage.
Yeah,
but I'm not. But I'm not going to think that that's a warrantable offense if the rim comes off or if I snap a drive line, and bust a U-joint.
Yeah.
Now, on the other hand, here comes the really difficult part. What if you are yeehawing and you do have a manufacturer's defect?
Right.
That is one that, you've gotten into there that's kind of like, okay, how do I...
I'm not even afraid to say this.
Yeah.
Okay, there was the engine issue we had.
Yeah, that's not what I'm talking about.
But I'll be straight honest. We took Dory's, the same mud hole you hit, the same one we hit the same day. Yep. And we plugged up our radiator too, and we drove the rest of the way home with the heat on. Luckily, it was a cold day.
Yeah.
So we got home, and then I did what you said. I disassembled the front of my Jeep, and I went ahead and I got back there and I cleaned as much of that out. And luckily,
that's guys. We're talking about a JKU, and that was the one time that I was really jealous of the JKU that he could snap the whole front grill off and get directly head on.
Oh yeah, no, I did
TJ,
that.
I couldn't do that,
and I went behind, and everything came out in one. The radiator fan assembly came out.
Yeah,
but I found that stuff had worked its way in everything, and I lost a pulley because the thing that people don't understand is that mud here in Florida, anyways, it's like a slurry. It's a valve grinding compound.
Oh, it is. It's if it's true Florida mud and not had an additive like the pit I was in.
Yeah,
they couldn't. Florida sand doesn't hold water for the most part. There are a few spots that there's enough clay in there, but it's still mostly sand, silica sand. And if you look at what the active ingredient in a lot of valve grinding compounds on, it's silica sand.
Yeah. So you're basically driving your vehicle through a valve grinding compound. But see, I was very fastidious. When I had my Jeep, I had the lifetime.
That's an understatement, folks. I've seen him polishing.
I'm going to say, I'm going to talk about it right now. Is that when I got done with these events, is all four wheels of the Jeep came off, the brake calipers came off, I dug all the mud out, I was with a hand wash mitt, washing the inside of the frame rails, the belly of the Jeep where all that insulation is, I was wiping that down. I was underneath there in a Tyvek suit and goggles. For three reasons. One, we talk about the valve grinding compound.
Yep. And
two, I had a lifetime bumper-to-bumper warranty. And I know that if I showed up there with that vehicle covered in whatever, what, I would have warranty issues. So I literally fastidiously cleaned every inch of that Jeep, underneath, on top, and around. And here's where things still got me. After that little adventure in the mud hole, about 2 or 3 months later, I go in for service. And again, occasionally, here's what I did. Mm-hmm. I went ahead and I let the dealership do some snake oils. Yeah. I had them do a transmission flush. No, not to drop the pan and clean the filter.
I know, just
an actual
hook it
flush.
Up to the computer.
Yeah, it was $150.
Yep.
But you know what? It said to do it at 60,000 miles. It was at 55,000 miles. You know what? That's cash in their pocket. You know what? Just do it. There's a record of it now. If I ever have a problem, it's on you now.
Mm-hmm.
4,000 miles later,
mm-hmm.
we are driving in Jasper and get the hot oil transmission light on.
I remember that.
I'm like, whoa, that's not good. Why is this happening? Well, fast forward, we get it home. No more problems. Well, I'm going down US 19, not towing anything, not doing anything, hot oil.
By the way, for the rest of you in the world who don't know Florida, US 19 is a 4-lane, technically a highway, but it's really a down through the center of the beach district, I'm going to call it that, from St. Pete up through Holiday and
it actually goes completely
Tarpon
north.
Springs. Yeah, it does. It goes all the way up. But in that area, it's full of stoplights. It's a city road.
Yeah.
So just to and it's flat.
Yeah.
There's no hills.
There's no hills.
The biggest speed bump in the whole place is bridge overpasses. It rises up 10 feet.
Well, because I read my owner's manual, I knew that the hot oil meant the transmission is over temperature. Right. And they put this on there because Jeeps were catching fire because the oil would get hot. It would pump out through the dipstick onto the exhaust manifold, and that's your fire.
Yeah.
So, of course, we get to the Jeep event. I pop my hood and pull out my dipstick, and the transmission fluid that was 5,000 miles old was black.
Yeah, I know. It was so
black
red.
It was okay, that's not good. So off to the dealership it went. Now, the 2011 and older JKs had the 3.8s and the older style 4-speed transmission. Well, sure enough, there have been known problems for the torque converter coming apart.
Yeah.
Okay, so you know what? My warranty paid for itself. I got myself a new transmission. Life was good. They rebuilt it. Away I go, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's done. Well, we go to Jasper again. Hot oil. Whoa, what's going on here? Luckily, the fuel fluid didn't turn
charcoal,
the bad color. But next thing you know, it goes back to the dealership, and they're like, "Well, we gotta do this again." Are you serious? Yeah, we gotta do it again. Something, it came apart again. Okay, so I got my second transmission rebuilt. Fast forward to a year later, that all of a sudden, my AC doesn't work very well. All right, cool. Well, it turns out it was the condenser that was bad.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, manufacturer defect.
Mm-hmm.
They pulled that condenser out. The one area I could not get to was behind the cross member.
Yep.
No, you physically couldn't get to it.
I know, but you also couldn't see in there when you were taking.
Oh, guess what? It was slam plugged full of mud.
And guess what is Sam pulled a mug? You forgot to say that.
The transmission
oil cooler, transmission oil cooler.
I had cleaned out the top part of the condenser just fine, but the bottom where I couldn't get because it was behind a cross member, was the transmission cooler.
Right. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, so it wasn't getting any cold air. So they took one look at me and then they go, "It's this been through the mud," and I said, "Yes." I'm not going to lie. Yes, because I had a good relationship with him. And the guy who looked at me and he goes, "Well, obviously your condenser is bad. We're going to replace it. But, man, you got 2 transmissions on us for free."
Yeah. They would have denied it for you.
They would have denied it, so at that point, and then fast forward when I had
I would have taken it. I would have taken putting a cooler behind a cross member where it doesn't get air and can't be cleaned as a defect, but that would have been a whole legal argument.
But one of the things too is that when we had the hydrolock, the guy pulled my motor on the top, again, places you can't get.
Yeah.
That slurry paste got in the valley.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
for those of you who haven't taken a 3.8 apart, it has a valley pan between the cylinder heads, and then the intake manifold goes over that, kind of like a Chevy LS. Same thing. You've got that dead space in there, and it hides lots of dirty secrets.
Oh, yeah. and I knew the tech, and he sent me the picture and go, "Really, Scott?" I'm like, "What do you mean, really, Scott?" He goes, "Man, look at this." I'm like, "Oops." But see, they know the Jeep. They know I took good care of it, and they also know that I did clean up after myself.
Right.
But at that point, the writing was on the wall. That mud got everywhere. So now, okay, let's see where it went. So now when we got this Gladiator, and we're like, yeah, we're okay. We're not hitting those mud holes again.
You're not hitting them as hard. Well, again, if you're not hitting it hard, the dynamics don't push it up into the engine compartment. I mean, folks, if you have any questions about, and I'm not just saying mud, but even a dusty trail, and it's going to happen, but you open the hood and look at the alternator. The Chrysler alternators are not an enclosed unit. They're wide open. The case has got all kinds of vent holes in it.
They're mounted backwards on the JLs. And
I understand that. And so all of that dust gets drawn through. All of the mud can get drawn through if it's hit that hard. Now, if you hit it at a lower speed, if you just go across the trail, you'll probably be fine. In fact, Jeep uses that as part of their testing system that we've seen on this FCA proving grounds. Yeah. But you don't really need to, I shouldn't say, if you choose to go blasting through the obstacles, that's your choice. Okay, but just understand that's probably in excess of Chrysler's definition of trail rated.
You're taking it beyond the design parameters,
and that's fine. You just need to understand that. I mean, if the Jeep was absolutely perfect for every person from day one, we'd have no need of the aftermarket. You wouldn't be listening to us on this show.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have issues. The point is the Jeep still is a good starting point, and trail rated Jeeps are a little further up the line. Couldn't you take a non-trail rated Jeep? And yes, almost every model of Jeep, I'm not sure every model, but I think almost every model you can get in a non-trail rated version. Most typically 2-wheel drive. Can you change those to a 4-wheel drive? Yeah, most of them you can do what you want and modify it from there and do all kinds of stuff. And it's becoming more prevalent in the newer models because, let's face it, a lot of people are buying them never intending to use them off-road. Yeah. So you can get a lot of vehicles that are no longer Jeep vehicles that don't have a trail rated badge. And so it does, I guess the point of this is the trail rated badge does mean something. Yeah. And it does mean something beyond just a marketing ploy. It means that it can do your basic off-road. Yeah. Can it go through the obstacle course? Maybe not. Okay, and that's up to you. Again, we've gone through this 1,000 times in our show. Decide what you want to do with your Jeep. Yeah. And then do your research on what mods you need to do.
Also, just before we get the emails, on Jeep.com, they have 5 little categories under the trail rated. One says traction. It's all about putting engine power to the ground, rock track, 4x4 system, blah, 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 blah. The next one, okay, water fording. Now, I'm going to agree with Kevin here. It's kind of misleading. You know, if you look at that picture, they're kind of hitting it with a little bit of speed.
Well, not really.
We don't really know.
I mean, you look at it, that could be vertical speed. He could be dropping a wheel. There's a splash is what he's talking about, and it's up to the bumper.
And it talks about a high air intake, sealed electrical connectors, and moisture-resistant body openings, okay?
Which they do. They do have.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the maneuverability, you know, easily maneuver tight and treacherous trails to navigate around rocks or fallen logs with precision steering and high performance wheelbase. So even there, they're recommending that sometimes you go around.
Well,
you know?
and I have to laugh. I'm sitting here going, okay, I wonder if they wrote that when you're JKU with 37-point turns.
Yeah, really. But articulation, and then they talk about ground clearance to drive over logs, rocks, or just about anything else on the trail, thanks to exceptional ground clearance. The rocks they have in the picture are about the size of wheels and tires,
but they're also laid out in such a way that you can drive from one to the other to the other. They're not looking at King of the Hammers boulders, you know, on the mountain climbs, and
it is kind of vague though, and that's why I'm glad we found that
it is vague by definition, because we are talking about, you know, retail product where they want to sell an image.
Oh yeah,
and I guess what I look at it is, maybe because I'm an engineer and understand things like strength of materials, center of balance, you know, fatigue, I kind of know intrinsically what the Jeep could do stock, and I came to the realization that, okay, I wanted to go further than the factory.
Yeah.
But that was the point. It was further than the factory. It wasn't, I was expecting the factory to fix if I went over and broke something. Yeah. I did not ask Chrysler to replace my front axle when I bent it. Okay. I really don't think that Trail Rated Badge included a test for standing the TJ on its nose.
Yeah.
Okay. And folks, that's what I did. I did a hard stop on a mountainside, came up against some rocks. She stopped. The rear end came off the ground. It was a little bit of a pucker moment, to put it the least. And for some reason, when I got home, it looked like my Jeep was smiling.
Yeah.
You know, it looked like a curved line, and the wheels kind of cambered in, head in a little bit. And so it wasn't really handling the best in the world. And I just decided that I wasn't going to put another Dana 30 under the front of it.
Well, and that's we talked a little bit about this too, about how, like, I took marketing, you know, in school. That's what part of my stuff, and so I had to create a marketing image for some of the things I was trying to sell, which were calendars.
Yeah.
I did rather well at it, so I understand the marketing. But no,
that doesn't surprise me.
But the thing is, though, marketing is once the magic's gone, for lack of better terms.
Yeah.
You understand that, you know, they have to be vague. You know, and what's really interesting is that when we started talking about this, I remember, I'm going to get hate mail for this.
Probably.
Way back, you know, in 2010, we were looking at the Jeep Patriot. Mm-hmm. You know, I had my YJ, the wife had her Civic, you know, we wanted a little SUV. They didn't make the Cherokee anymore. I'm like, well, the Patriot's kind of nice, you know. Well, let's take a look at them. And I remember reading the Jeep Trail Rated Badge, and back then it would say that you could go under like 12 inches or 17 inches of water or something like that. So I'm thinking, well, I'll just look it up today and see what it says. Oh, it's not there anymore.
It's not there anymore.
And probably because of these reasons.
Right.
So, again, it's one of those kind of things where they're being vague for a reason because they have to be.
Well, and therein lies it, because you'll take it through water that's 12 and a half inches, and then it doesn't fail. So you take it to 13 inches, and then somebody along the line will push it to the point that it ingests water and it dies.
Well, it's not that just the 12 inches going through it, it's the variables. Yeah. How fast are they going to go? Are they going to hit it with a full skipping stone speed?
Yeah.
That will, like,
yeah.
I think the security team just getting somebody out.
No, she's right here. One of our cats, and she's an older lady and doesn't see real well. And we've set up the recording equipment and the lights and the wires and got her totally confused.
Sorry.
So, that's all right. But no, there goes Zaya, security officer Zaya, heading out to check on things. Again, folks, this isn't meant to diss people who are having troubles. This isn't mean to diss Chrysler FICA and their warranties. I think Scott said it very clearly, if you think about warranty as defects in manufacturing, defects in installation, defects in the product itself, and was the failure that you had happen, whatever it is, a result of that or a result of your driving actions. It's not about it should be able to take that. That was the problem I think I've had from almost every post that I've seen out there. Well, it's a Jeep. It should be able to do that. Okay, that kind of goes right back to our Gladiator towing concept that, it's a truck. It should be able to pull 3,000.
Yeah, it's a mid-size truck.
It's a mid-size truck, and it really should pull what it is rated to pull. And that's it, but not, it should be able to do that. That's, okay, maybe you took the marketing a little too much to heart, if you think.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm just saying you can do what you want, but, you might be a little reasonable, and that's why the aftermarket's there.
Yeah.
Does trail rated mean something? Well, to me, yes, it does. But does it mean the end all of off-road vehicles? No. Is it a 6x6 covers there? There's no vehicle. There's no one vehicle that does it all. Okay. Yeah. And all you have to do is look at motorsports in general, and you will see what modifications are done to Jeeps, no less. I have seen V8 fully blown Hemi powered Jeeps for the drag strip. Do they look like the average, the same as the Jeep that's lifted on the 37 or 42-inch Super Swampers that's designed to go through that? No. It's been lowered. It's been versus lifted. The Jeep is at best a universal platform on which to build.
Yeah.
And to me, I think that's its appeal. Is it really allows you to build your Jeep to what you want it to do. From the factory, it's probably not perfect for anybody.
Yeah, well, and we talked a little bit about like self-preservation and warranties, like rev limiters.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Audio, your stereo even has an audio limiter because everyone's like, oh, this new head unit makes everything sound so much better. Well, yeah, you took the audio limiter out.
Yeah.
But one of the things too is
for those of you who don't know, an audio limiter is part of the factory stereo system that even though you get a 500 watt amp, if your speakers in the bass frequencies can't handle that without blowing apart, it limits the power that goes to those components so that you really can't damage them by turning them up too loud, at least initially. They'll wear out quicker, but they don't blow apart.
But when you talk about like the warranties and things like that, we had a coworker. Okay, when you talk about self-preservation of vehicles, it's really interesting. We've always talked about like the new 392 Runga is going to kill itself. You know what I mean? We've heard that. But one of the things that like he had is that he bought the car used, and it was a Subaru. Okay, and Impreza WRX STI, and basically he had a program tune on it that basically made the car faster and did a lot of things, and also kind of removed the rev limiter.
Oh, joy.
And he spun a rod bearing.
Yeah, I was going to say.
And so basically he removed his tuner, took it to the dealership, and they go, okay, well, we're going to basically take a look at the car. We'll call you in 3 days. Well, it's warranty, right? We'll call you in 3 days. And they plug the car in, and they go, yep, okay. Mr. Smith, here's what we have going on. Yeah, you show 3 key cycles on a car that shows 28,000 miles.
Yep.
So you've only driven this car 3 times, or did you remove your programmer? Now, here's what he did. And I will always say this. A lot of times riders already know the answer. Answer honestly. He goes, yes. Okay, I'm going to tell you the honest truth. We're going to break this engine down. If we find that it was damaged because the rev limiter was removed, you're on the hook for everything.
Yep.
Or we can button it back up and you can take it to your garage and do it yourself. But it's not going to be... do you want to take the chance of it being covered under warranty?
Yeah.
Because
so in other words, if they open it up, because the law does clearly state... just because you do a mod, the dealer is obligated to prove that the failure was due to the mod and not due to a manufacturer's defect. We go back to that manufacturing defect issue. So you can take your chance, but the dealer is expending time and energy and money on a maybe. And if he proves that it was in fact due to your mod, you're on the hook for that. You know, you have to agree up front that yes, if it turns out to not be a manufacturer's defect. So, you know, that's kind of in the technical side of it. But again, I don't think that Jeep is building mud boggers. I don't think they're building sippy hole Jeeps for
rock
dunking.
bouncers.
They're not building rock mount. They're building a trail rated general purpose transportation vehicle.
Yeah.
We are modifying and asking them to do far more than, you know, what I think Jeep, and I really, when I look at the video of what FICA does on their test, they push that thing pretty far. All you have to do is, in your mind, replace that Gladiator, that LJ, with a minivan by the same company, a Chrysler minivan.
Yeah.
That minivan is not going to make it through that. That little what's the little Chrysler car now?
Well, it was the Chrysler 200, but they got rid of it. But something like that along those lines.
Something along a 200 or the little Fiat. Imagine the little Fiat 500.
Yeah.
You know, I think it would be floating down that water trench. And so what are you comparing against? Unfortunately, I think a lot of people will take a brand new Jeep, see it as a mud bogger, see it as a sippy hole Jeep, watch a few too many country music videos and kind of get the idea they can go out or watching reruns from Dukes of Hazzard.
I was just going to say that.
And do you know how many of General Lee's are sitting in the scrapyard with the front frame members bent because of those jump scenes?
Well, they're actually, I just saw a program on this, and there are guesstimates of around 600 Chargers were destroyed.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't doubt it. Until they actually, I remember reading a story about that they built one custom for jumping. And it's stripped out. It's just the body shell, but it's basically a tube chassis designed to take that impact. Yeah. Particularly in the intro scene where they do that huge jump over top of the police car. So,
and by the way, that's a good way to get your significant others when you get behind the wheel and all that. You're getting ready to do something stupid on the trail. You go, looks like them Duke boys are about to do it again. You know, some people don't like that.
Well, you know, I get that, but I don't know. I just. Maybe it's just me, but I kind of look at it, and I've got to say that you can't expect the Jeep to be everything every time.
Yeah, because it's also got to meet government standards. Pollution, crash, all this kind of stuff every year.
Minimum fuel economy.
The biggest complaint I get all day long is, excuse me, you're telling me my replacement key is $375 plus programming?
Yep.
Yeah.
That shocks the out of me, too.
Well, that's stupid. Okay, let me explain something. Okay, you want the convenience of a push-button start car, and as you grab the key, or grab the handle and open the door, you want the key to unlock itself and remember your seat settings. Yes, well, that's technology. Mm-hmm. Technology costs money. Mm-hmm. Once I break it down, they understand it. They don't like it. When I tell them,
nobody likes to pay for anything anymore. You know, that's the whole thing. You'd really like to have it handed to you on a platter. I'd be happy with a plastic platter, but you know, there are some that want it to be platinum. But you know, there's also a fair amount of markup in parts. Let's be honest, Scott. There has to be, because you don't see just the part. You have to see the entire chain, that from manufacturing the part to warehousing the part to the cost. You know, they have to maintain, what is it, 7 years backlog or something like that. I forget what the colloquial is.
Basically, I actually just had a very long conversation. That's probably one of the reasons why my throat is so nasty, because I scream raged my way home on Friday.
Another one of those.
And I'm going to break down some of the mysticism. And we didn't want to really go down this rabbit hole, but we're going to real quickly, because I think it's important that people need to understand.
Okay.
In 2008, yes, dealerships would get not reimbursed, but they would get a rebate on parts sold.
Right.
Okay. We were also allowed a $50,000 a month return allowance. Mm-hmm. So, in other words, these warranted parts, or parts that didn't move inventory after 1 year, we were allowed to send them back to the manufacturer and get a credit to when we ordered stock.
Yep.
That no longer exists anymore. Okay.
So you have to gamble.
Well, we have to keep the part on the shelf for 1 calendar year.
Yep.
And then basically, and every month it rolls over, we do a return order.
Right.
And we now only get $7,000 to send back parts. Went from 50 to $7,000.
And the parts themselves probably went from $2 to $15.
And we don't get rebates anymore. I had a gentleman look at me and basically said the same thing to me. He goes, "This is ridiculous." He had 2 transmission seals. Okay, and I'll break this down. I'll talk about it all day long. He had 2 transmission seals, and he said, and I asked him, "Did you get a price when you went to the other dealership?" And then he goes, "No." Okay, well those seals are $11 each, and he had a conniption fit, telling me that is so overpriced. This is ridiculous. You're the dealership, the whole lines, and I'm sitting there looking at this guy as he's dressing me down literally at my counter. And I looked at him, and the same conversation I just had with you very quickly, is I said, yes, back then we did get rebates. We don't anymore. And I said, "What do you do for a living?" And he goes, "What's that got to do with anything?" I said, "What do you do for a living, sir?" He goes, "Well, I sell cleaning products to hotels." "Really? So if I call you when I'm calling from Holiday Inn and I decide, hey, let's sell me that case of disinfectant for, $40. Would you do it?" "Well, no, I wouldn't do that." "Then why are you doing it to me?" Why is the dealership, why is the automotive business the only business on the face of the planet where someone wants to come in and dictate what my prices are? Now, I'm a mirror. You show me what I show you. Yes, I have the authority to discount those parts, and I did.
To a point.
Well, 30 minutes talking to the guy, I made a customer and a friend.
Yeah.
Because I explained things to them. I don't have time to do that every day. So
You don't. And that's the challenge that you're going to have. But I want to segue before we lose that. I also think the automotive industry, with their pricing structure and their negotiation technique on the vehicle itself, have set the stage for what you see in the parts world. If you bought a car like you buy a vacuum cleaner, and this is the price, today it's stickered and you just pick it up and take it to the register. The parts price would be also viewed as this is the price, period, fixed, whatever. Instead, we see this variability. It's not consistent. Now, I've seen some manufacturers have enforced on parts a fixed price. And you'll see it in the writ underneath, even all the way to Amazon. The price is the price is the price, and you're getting this particular component. And I'm sorry, manufacturer sets retail price.
It's MSRP.
MSRP. Well, no, that's suggested.
Yeah, but also that's also the colloquialism we use.
Right. But see, you can discount off MSRP. I'm talking about, though, in a world where it's a fixed price. I have seen a lot of tools. I'm sorry, I can't sell that any less than what the manufacturer, or they won't allow me to be a retail outlet. And so the philosophies are different, so it tends to bleed over that in the purchase of the item, in your case a car, is a highly negotiated, it's a gameplay, there's all the sides that the retail goes into with, the dealer wants to get the highest amount he can for the vehicle, whereas the buyer wants to buy it for the lowest. It kind of bleeds over into the parts side too.
Yeah.
And the fact that you do have, and it's well known, there's the A list, the B list, the C list, and then you have different discounts available for certain conditions, and it's harder for some people to stomach.
Well, yes, there was an A, B, C, D list.
Yeah, well, there still are in some industries. I realize yours is not.
Yeah, well, what it is that runs off matrix pricing, which we're allowed to take that part, let's say, and again, these seals, the other store didn't have them. We had them. And it was for a 20-year-old car. And we stock these seals.
Yep.
And I said, this is one of the reasons why, a loaf of bread costs you $7 at 7-Eleven and costs you $4 at Publix. We have the inventory. We have the space. We have these hard-to-find parts that no one else is willing to carry.
Called supply and demand.
Supply and demand. But again, yes, I find it unfair because some of our matrix pricing is outrageous because we are allowed to do 1.67% over MSRP. So that seal that cost me $8, MSRP is $11. It was matrix to 14. So I'm supposed to try and sell for 14. That's why I told him, did you get a price for that? No, I automatically, because I knew he came from the other store, I didn't want to argue. I said, okay, $11 each.
Yeah.
Those seals cost you 50 cents. No, they don't. Okay, in 2004, when we got rebates, sure, they probably cost eventually 50 cents. But again, the markets are different. And I'm sorry for going down this rabbit hole, but these are some things like when the parts department sees these warranty defective parts, I have to hold those parts, like you said, for 120 days until the manufacturer can tell us to scrap them. When we have to send them back to engineering.
Yeah.
And if they crack open that transmission and find mud, the dealership gets charged back everything. They get the technician gets back flagged. So as a dealership, yes, we want you to be happy, but we are also in business to be business, you know. And the thing is, people don't see the human behind the counter.
No, they don't, and it's
trying to make
a difficult thing. But related back to where we started with this,
I'm so sorry, guys.
No, and that's fine, because this is kind of the way it goes when you start talking into these nebulous regions around warranty. And I think the best thing that we can offer as a takeaway from this, besides the different viewpoints, me as a consumer, but probably more educated consumer than most, understanding the material supply, and Scott working in the automotive industry on the parts side, and so of course seeing everything from the happy customer leaving with their Jeep, the regulars that come in and get their oil changed at the dealership religiously for the records tracking, all the way to the guy who comes in with the Jeep that's smoking, dragging parts and claiming it's a warranty failure, and there's still tree branches stuck in the passenger seat. Is remember the basic idea of a warranty is defect in materials, manufacturing, an operation, not due to external causes. And if you can get that kind of through your head, and in fact, when you come in, Scott, would you say if you talk to them about it in that manner, you'll probably make further inroads with your service technicians. Being
a regular customer and being polite and nice goes a long way to a point.
It does. But still, if it's an abuse situation, he's over here having confusion.
No, because I had a really good saying and you sidetracked me. I forgot it. It was funny.
I'm sorry.
It was a zinger too.
Well, good.
Keep talking. I'm going to remember it. Hold on.
But that's what we're looking at. The warranty is, I know they sell it as a warranty to protect you, but it really isn't. It's really to help them protect themselves and the vehicle and their reputation.
Here's one of the things we say about our sport model we carry. And again, I don't work at a Jeep dealership, guys. Just
no, he
so
does
you
know.
But we actually had a customer with a very high line Japanese SUV take it to Citrus and came in saying, "It's under warranty, right?" No. But here's the idea, and here's a quick rule of thumb. It's a joke that we use, especially in our sport models, because people take them out to track days.
Right.
Okay. First question we all ask: did you have fun? Yeah, it's not under warranty. If you had fun, it's not under warranty. Just like the wheeling spots around here. Does it look like fun? Yes, you're not allowed to go there.
And that's not a warranty issue. That's the local jurisdiction law saying if it's fun, it's illegal.
Exactly. So, and again, relationships go a long way.
They do. But
bringing a pizza doesn't hurt too. Not gonna lie.
Oh God. Nothing like pizza with greasy hands, huh?
Well, you know what? I will say this though: the customers that and again, it's just the human element. It's just the repeat customers, the ones that come in and bring a box of donuts.
That's sometimes a blatant plug for food.
Look, majority of parts guys love food. But,
I get it.
But the point is that those relationships go a long way. I have seen where someone was 3,000 miles out of warranty, had did every service. They had a headlamp that fogged up with condensation.
Right.
It was a 270Z.
Yeah, and those are expensive.
Oh yeah, they're very expensive. And basically, the service director looked at me back when I worked at Nissan and said, "Warranty it." Really? Yep. We're going to Goodwill this.
Yeah.
And because he had the receipts and every service done there. And believe me.
But see, you can also argue, and to put the flip side of that coin is he probably paid for that headlamp in those service costs.
I just realized something.
What?
This is going to be fun because last thing we want to do is be dealer friendly. And it's really hard for me because, again, I do.
You do it as a living.
Think of your warranty department like your HOA. Some people are power trippy happy, and they want the power, and some people understand that, okay, to the best of my abilities, I'm going to want to help you.
Yeah, well, and that's kind of a tough call, I guess, for us in the Jeeper community here. I bought my Jeep out of warranty, and I kind of, to me, the warranty was, well, that was history. And in my Jeep, it's ancient history.
Well, that's why
I am the warranty.
Well, that's why I bought the LG. I have lots of fun.
Yeah, because you are the warranty.
Yeah.
But it's funny because I do see the difference in you and Dory when you guys are out. Is you are the warranty on the LJ, but you have a warranty on the Gladiator. And her attitude about wheeling the Gladiator is completely different. And in fact, she started to talk that way. Yeah. Well, I want to get an old, maybe YJ that I can go out and wheel.
No, we're looking for another LJ for her.
Okay, with abandon.
Yeah, because she wants the inline. Because honestly, the hydrolocking of the motor, it sucked because that was our daily driver for her, and also too the fact that the inline 6 is a lot more stout than the 3.8.
Well, yeah, or even the 3.6. It's basically a cast iron boat anchor.
Yeah, I mean,
keeps turning.
Come on, 1950s.
Yeah, and it could wave oil at it, and it'll spin a few more revs.
Exactly. So I mean, and she wants a little thicker steel around her.
Yeah, and of course, and no offense, Dory, but of the two of you, you are the crazier driver.
Oh, absolutely. That's what
foot's down, even if Scott's foot's in the way.
Look, she ran over my foot once, all right? No, technically twice. One in the Liberty and one in the JK. Hey, speaking of running over feet, do you want to take a quick break and then tip your tire out to the garage?
Sure.
Okay, cool. We will be right back after these messages from me. Hey, Jeepers, don't forget to check out the Patreon page, not to mention the 4x4 Radio Network. And if you also want to, other things are falling down. I have no idea what that noise was. But on that note, we are going to... Exactly. We're going to get right back to the action, and here we go.
Yeah, I just opened the hoods on the little Jeeps on the desk, so,
So, before we go down more rabbit holes, so tell me, what's some of the cool things you've been tinkering with?
Well, it's a nice segue there, lead in, Bucko.
Ooh, Angawa, you have word, speak.
Yeah, well, we talked about this and teased it with the last show, folks. I have been asked to assist a shop with a complete reharness of a 84 CJ7. Not that would be normally too much of other than following the instructions, except that this 84 CJ7 started life as a 4-speed with the Renix ignition system. And somewhere in the life, not with the current owner, it was converted to a 4-liter manual. And that's okay, except that it's a YJ 4-liter with a TJ head and a TJ intake, but set with a TJ exhaust with the O2 sensor still dangling out and a 2-barrel carburetor conversion, but it still has the Delco Remy coil on cap distributor system on the other side.
So you're able to delve to more what you're dealing with.
It is a
mutt.
Yeah, it's a Franken Jeep. Well done, with one exception: the wiring.
Yeah,
things were just kind of chopped, abandoned, left hanging. Nothing was cleaned up. There's still stuff, relays and voltage regulators on the firewall and fenders that are still connected but don't actually do anything. Ballast resistors that don't have any play in this system. It's just really bizarre. And so what I'm doing is I have a manual for the wiring diagram already. I'm kind of doing the research phase. Everybody's like, what do you research? You're going to just rewire it. Well, I have to start off with, what am I taking out? Is everything the same between a 4-cylinder 84? Because guess what? My dash is all 4-cylinder 84 CJ7.
Oh boy.
Do the sensors that came in the 4-cylinder work the same gauges as the 6-cylinder and that kind of thing? So I'm taking an 84 4-cylinder, comparing it to an 84 6-cylinder. But I've also got an 86 CJ 6-cylinder wiring diagram, because that's my target zone, is to kind of bring it, because that was the one that you got. There was a transition year where I could get the Delco Remy distributor. And what I'm trying to do, folks, is take the harness. Now, the harness is a universal harness. It's from Painless, and it's going to go from 76, I think. Whatever year the 7 came out. So it was either 74, 76, all the way up through 86. And I might as well go for the newest version when I'm all said and done. We have not started yet. We're still waiting on Painless. The whole ordering system with the COVID delays and delivery delays is way behind. So I can't report progress other than I'm sitting here going, okay, did the wire colors change? Did the wire gauges change? You know, and these are some things that most people don't think about when they're wiring. But you try to take a 20 gauge wire and cram 40 amps down it, you're going to have a little, toaster oven in there.
Yeah.
And the magic smoke will escape and things will stop working. Mm-hmm. So that is the step one on this project. Along to that, as I was showing Scott today, I finally found a crimping tool, a handheld crimping tool that will crimp open barrel connectors, which is typically what you find when you get replacement wiring harnesses and the pin connectors. Yep. And what I mean by open barrel is it's not a little circle of steel tube to the spade connector or the pin or the prong with a plastic sheath over it that you get at the local hardware center multi-pack that you crush the plastic and everything together. These are the ones that are, you look at the end of it and it's got 4 little tangs sticking up. 2 are wider at the back, and then the middle 2 are smaller, and then you have the actual connector, whatever it is. And those are called open barrel, and they're designed so that the back end, the bigger ones, wrap around the insulation, and the smaller one goes around the wire strand. Well, in my older system of pliers, the crimpers, you had to use one blade or one notch in the crimper to do the wire, and then try to go up and do another version for a larger size to crimp the insulation lockdown. And it worked well. It just was a multi-step process. And I ran across a dual-jawed pliers across the width. They do both at the same time.
Right.
And the first ones were cheapies because I didn't know how they'd work. And they worked okay, but they tended to damage the connector. That's what you get for cheap. Yeah. Could send them back, but they're not worth sending back. The second ones were good, but they still didn't have any kind of internal stop. And a weird thing I learned, this is something completely bizarre, down to nitnoid details, but most of those pins, the metal shape that comes from the wire end into whatever the plug terminal, spade terminal, pin terminal, whatever, it's got a little roll in it. And that roll's there to stiffen the connector so it doesn't fold over and play dead sheet of paper. And the better ones, if you didn't set them right, would flatten that out. It didn't break it, it just flattened it. And so now the end of the connector, when you tried to push it into something, would bend really easy. The tabs would just kind of flop over,
roll over and play dead.
Yeah. So I finally found this one. They are about a $30 set of crimpers. They are not cheap. On the other hand, when you're going to build harnesses, it's probably worth it. And they go in there. I let Scott do it. Have you ever done one of those connectors before?
I have not.
So it actually, you put the little pin in the pliers, you click them down, and they hold the frickin' pin in there. It doesn't fall out. You strip only about a 1/4 inch of wire off the end, not 6 miles and have the fuzzies hanging all over the place. The hardest part about the job is to get the wire into the connector with the insulation.
Yeah. There was a couple of times where my one eye's closed and I'm going, or tongue out going,
like threading a needle.
Yeah.
But that was because I made him do it with a 20 gauge wire and a small connector.
So it was like threading a needle through a haystack.
And the key is that's what it's like for ECU pinning. Yeah. When you're doing later model vehicles, because we're getting down to the point where LED systems and intelligent systems that you run a power wire to the device, and then all you have to run is control wires to it, and so it thinks for itself. We started with ECUs, and then transmissions got smarter, so we had ECUs and TCUs, and then you had BCMs, body control modules. So the power by the main computer doesn't power anything. It just talks to it. So now all of those communication wires, the sensor wires from your door opening switch, when we did the Gladiator to put the amp steps on, you remember those wires? They were whisker thin. They're 20 gauge wires, folks. And if you've ever pulled a 20 gauge multi-strand wire, once you strip it, you look at it, and it doesn't look like wire. It looks like fluff. Metallic fluff. So that's
my next Jeep name.
Metallic fluff.
Metallic fluff.
But so these pliers hold everything, so you can kind of slide it in. And then the best part for me is the way they configure the wire insulation stops exactly where it's supposed to. It will not overrun into the cavity that crimps the wire side, which would cause a short, or not a short, but an open. It wouldn't current flow. And I can't tell you how many connectors I put on, and oh crap, the insulation got under the contacts. And you just push it until it stops, and you squeeze it, and you pull it off, and it looks exactly like a factory crimp.
Oh yeah,
and spot on. It doesn't bend the probe. It doesn't put a curl in it, a back curl into it where it won't go in the connector, yada yada yada. So a little nerdy on you there. Sorry about that, but what it is when you're going to rewire an entire Jeep, if you can go click click, click 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 click, and the pins are done, and not you'll have a little bit of hair left to fight the frustrations of running wires. And okay, was that a red with white stripe or a white with red stripe wire?
Well, also too, they're very ergonomic because you're going to be using them a lot, like you said.
Yeah, they are a high level lever system. And if anybody's interested in that stuff, if any of you want to play in that arena, feel free to drop me an email. What is it?
On the Trail podcast at gmail.com.
Or send me a Facebook note. A lot of you have been sending Facebook posts. That's fine, and I'll share you the make and model number. It is an Amazon purchase, and like I said, I went through 3 different ones. Now, the first one didn't count because it came with the box of connectors as a cheapie, free with connectors. And for me, it's about doing a quality job without a defect in materials or installation that will last. I've seen way too many wiring systems done by people that are add-ons, stereo systems, rock lights, fog lights, rear brake light systems, and all these things that really were put together with dime store components, and then they wonder why they fail on the trail or on the street or in the garage.
12 positive leads going to the battery terminal and 12 negative leads going to the battery terminal.
Yeah, well, and well, don't even get me started on that, folks. There are aftermarket fuse boxes, relay boxes, or you can build them yourselves very, very well. The thing about it is neat and quality work pays for itself in longevity and reliability. I'll just leave it at that.
Good work isn't cheap, and cheap work isn't good.
Correct. We used to also have the comment about speed, quality, time. Pick any 2. Because you're not going to get all 3 at the same time. That's all there is to it. So, but as we said, kind of referring to the subject we've discussed, the whole thing here in the shop is about, what have we preached all along? From day one of the show, our intro is do your research, read the instructions, and follow those instructions. And we're in the same realm here. What do you want your Jeep to do? Do your research. We've talked in many earlier shows, and maybe it's just been too long since we brought these topics up. Go out. If you're new to the Jeep community, or if you're in the Jeep community and you know somebody that's looking, get out with other Jeepers. Go to a social event. Go to a trail ride. Score yourself a passenger seat if you don't have a Jeep, or if you're thinking about making changes. Don't do this based on ads, pictures, and hearsay. Get out there. Experience it. Before you spend a fortune on a lift kit. I don't know about you guys, but where we are, I bet I can find somebody with that lift kit here in the group. And I could probably, every Jeeper I know, unless he's got a family full of kids and every seat's full, will gladly take you on a ride. In fact, an excuse to go wheeling? Oh my God!
Sign me up.
Sign me up. I'll take
exactly.
you. Let's go. Hop in. And if you're not too radical, they might even let you drive. Find out if you like the venue that you're talking about.
Right.
Are you comfortable in a Jeep that's off camber? If you're not, maybe you shouldn't be rock crawling. Are you comfortable with the idea of getting out in water up to your and wading through that muddy water and then bending over and reaching down to grab, hopefully the tow strap is already connected and coiled up, and if not, finding a tow hook or a suitable place to put a tow hook. Well, if not, maybe you shouldn't be swimming through muddy water in a Jeep. So make sure that you're happy with what you think you want to do, because for every yeehaw moment that's so much fun, I'll be the first one to tell you, I love the yeehaw moment, there's the corresponding oh crap, what do I do now? That goes along with it, and you have to be willing to accept that oh crap moment. So, and you're going to have to build your Jeep for your comfort level. You're not going to expect the real cheap body lift and extended bump stop kit to give you the same off-road performance of a $5,000 long arm lift, with top end, I won't name a brand, multi-valve shock systems and remote reservoirs. The two are completely different. Unfortunately, I see lots of guys coming in going, why do I want to spend this money on this lift when I can get this lift for the same amount of height for 1/4 the price? That one won't break. The second one,
Again, so, it's a classic. You get what you pay for. And also, too, on that note, where you talked about listening to ads. Be mindful when you're talking. Again, please call the manufacturers. This is part of doing your research. But if you call places that sell parts, keep in mind that person there may be just trying to sell that because it has the highest profit margin. Doesn't necessarily mean it's the best. It has the highest profit margin for them. Now, I have known some people that do sell parts that way. And Jeep parts, that is. So keep in mind that, again, take all information. The information is free. In
most cases, it's very free. A few times you got to pay for it, like at the testing place.
The Nevada Testing Automotive, or not
Nevada Automotive Testing Center. But that's their business, is information. So that's why it's not free from them. And folks, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. That their business is knowledge and information. They don't make anything themselves. Yes, they assist others in design of off-road vehicles. They help people in the design of reliability systems. They help people. Their business is information. So don't expect information for free from folks like that. You have to get real suckers like Scott and I who will share, learned information.
Well, and that's we talk about what works best for you. Again, understand you're probably going to make a mistake. I had my YJ. I got rid of it, and when we got the JK, I thought, well, there you go. That's the end of it. Again, it wasn't a fault on the JK. It's just that I wanted something different. I didn't want to overheat a transmission again. So,
well, you learn from that kind of things, and
we took a step back. We got the LJ. I said this 100 times. Is that I found that for me, the the LJ, whatever.
Well, it's still TJ, but
to be the butter zone.
It met your sufficient technology for your comfort. But sufficient old school that I can fix it myself.
And reliability.
And there's a lot to be said for that. And I mean, if you're going for the ultimate reliability, if you can handle fixing rust, go back to the points and carburetors of a early CJ. 7 or 5 depends on whether or not you want the back seat or not, and whether you want to be able to go around a curve higher than 45 miles an hour.
If you can get 45.
But the thing is that you can go right back to where you could dang near make your own pistons out of a chunk of wood and a die grinder. But
who did that again?
That was.
I'm challenging him, guys.
I can picture him too. It was in the old 4-wheeler series, and he had the dog Super Dog, and it keeps flashing right on the edge of consciousness. King. Oh well, it's good. Granville King.
Okay.
Granville King. Sorry, it just took, guys. When you dig deep into the data stack, it's no longer digital. I'm going through mental file folders.
The little guy in the brain was like opening file cabinets, going, "Man, which one is it again? Steve, help!"
Granville King. He used to. I grew up reading his. They don't call them monologues in a storyline, but his storyline.
Yeah.
And some of them were true and some of them were fictitious, and most of them were a combination of the both. But he was an awesome storyteller. And folks, if you get a chance to go Google Granville King, yeah, I think it was.
It's kind of like saying Worcestershire sauce.
Yeah. And look at some of his writings. Unfortunately, he did pass away after an off-roading incident in a buggy, no less.
Yeah.
But he played in the Southwest, and really, he has an old storyline about, whittling a wood piston to keep a Jeep running, and found out that, and again, this was a story. They did confirm that, but that they blew a piston, and so they on the trail that he and his wife took the head of the Jeep off and moved the push rod rockers off the valves and whittled a piece of wood and forced it down in there, and the coolant kind of made it swell up and fit even tighter, and disconnected the con rod and took it out and then put it all back together and figured to just get him home. And yeah, she shook pretty bad at idle, but you know what, she ran good enough that they still were running the wooden piston years later, a 5-cylinder Jeep. So and again, that was stretching the truth quite a bit,
right?
But I have seen plenty of stories of creative field repairers, including things like rolled up towels put into flat tires that sliced a bead, or not a bead, but we're not repairable, and to get them home, so it kept it from chewing the tire up too bad. And yeah, was it balanced? Could you go more than 20 miles an hour? No, but
you got home.
Yeah. So
you want to talk about some really unscrupulous stuff? Work for a car, you buy here, pay here lot to send cars to auction. I asked one guy why he was missing the tongue off his boot, and he goes, "Well, it's in that car right now going to auction." He used it as a rod bearing.
I've heard
dumping sawdust in the motor, you name it. Literally filling up a crankcase with gear oil to quiet the motor down.
I've heard of those stories, and I've had. He bumped the wire again, and then took his elbow into the table.
Well, the elbow didn't hurt. It was the sudden shock to my seashells. No, the sudden. Sudden shock to my eardrums.
Yeah. So anyway, we've had a little bit of a wandering topic. This is one of those that we just kind of dove into a topic. We did talk about it a little bit beforehand. Our condolences and honest concern to the individual who is finding out the hard way that the warranty does not cover usage. It covers manufacturer's defects in materials, installation and processes kind of thing, and whether that individual wins or loses in court remains to be seen. But I think the rest of us can learn from it either way. That manufacturers do tend to hype their products in their advertising, and that should not be coming as a shock to any of you.
What? They're in business to make money. What?
Yeah. But does that mean that the Jeep is not a trail-worthy vehicle? I would say absolutely not. It is very trail-worthy, and it's just got to be a little more reasonable about your definition of trail. The trail-rated badge. No, it's not a fictitious creation for advertising. It actually has some merit in it by an independent agency. There is some question over just how far is trail rated, and I think if you apply can I get through that driving normally without modifications, it's probably that kind of trail. All right. If you're looking at something that requires lift kits, different tires, more horsepower, a snorkel, you may be a little further along the trail than basic trail rated badge level.
Tank rated.
Well, yeah, and funny you say that, because way back before I moved to Florida, actually even before I was in D.C., I was in central Pennsylvania, and we had the Fort Indian Town Gap military installation, and it was a live fire range. Those who live up in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, as opposed to a state, Virginia and Pennsylvania are both Commonwealths, and you can Google that to see what that means.
Yeah, my eyes are glazing over. What?
Fort Indian Town Gap's a little bit over to the eastern side of Central, and that there's a bombing range for aircraft, and that was some of my projects early in my career were there. There were tank trails through the hillsides and the mountains, and it was more of a training for European war theater at that point in time, as opposed to everything now being focused on desert warfare. But it's a neat place. But if you were DOD, you could get permission and get a authorization on off days to go wander those backwoods, the trails. And so I've been on tank rated trails. And survive them. And I do remember that the biggest thing that they print in large block print on your authorization to be on the trails is if you hear heavy vehicular or what sounds like thunder, get as far off the trail, get out of your vehicle, and get away from your vehicle. And it turns out that most of these, the field of view from M1A1 Abrams is not that great.
Yeah.
And if you are in a Jeep or any other off-road vehicle, and they don't see you, they might feel, oh, that was a big rock. Keep going. But yeah, some of the things they put those tanks and different combat vehicles through, even got a tank stuck and had to do recovery. We watched them recover. It wasn't an M1A1, it was the predecessor to it, or maybe it was a Bradley fighting vehicle, whatever, but they even got that stuck and broken and had to come out with the recovery. What is it? I don't know. I've forgotten all the terminology.
It's probably some Oshkosh of some sort.
Yeah, so they recover a broken tank. So yeah, Jeeps are not sold as indestructible vehicles, and I guess if that's a shock to any of you, our listeners, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
they do have limits, but the aftermarket is standing by, ready to sell you something that will fix whatever ails you at a small fee and installation charge.
Yeah, of course, yes. And the 3 to 5 weeks to get it from. Never mind.
No, I mean, yeah, we've done how many years now? 4 years of shows based on this one line of vehicles.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised that this hasn't come up before now.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, I think maybe Jeep might need to ease off some of their advertising. It has been, as we talked about, we must have looked at dozens of videos and photographs and stuff in preparation for this show. And the FICA has gotten a little wilder in what they're showing. I went back into the CJ ads and looked at that, and they might show it crossing what's called a riffle. Are you familiar with that term on a creek? It's one of those areas that the water's only 6-8 inches deep, running across the granular rock, and you'll always see the CJ coming up out of that. Okay, you could dang near walk across it. And then they showed it kind of running up a hill, but it was in a track. It wasn't on blazing new trails, or coming out of the trees, and it would come across that rock outcropping, but it was smooth, and it would park at that overlook. Those were the great outdoor pictures that they were showing. And if you go back even more than that, you actually see them. Most of the Jeep ads in the CJ 3A, 2A, and 3A were agriculture.
Yeah,
you saw them towing plows,
replacement for the tractor.
Yeah, so and now we do show some fairly deep water crossings. Yeah. And again, can the Jeep do a fairly deep water crossing in automotive sense? Yes. It's not a boat.
Yeah.
It really should not be where the grill is underwater without modification. Just common sense. The radiator is air to water cooling, not water to water cooling.
Yeah.
Yes, I've read all kinds of things about people who say, well, if you maintain this much speed, you can keep an air bubble under the hood. Yeah, but do you think that that's really what the factory intended and the warranty should cover? You know, I got news for you. Headlights are electric. Electric things don't like being underwater.
Yeah.
Okay, if you've got the water line up to the hood, and you know what? You might have gotten away with it in a CJ.
Right.
And even a YJ. You know why?
A lot less than any state.
No, not just that, but real simple.
Sealed beams.
Sealed beams.
Yeah.
TJ came out, still had technically sealed beams. Okay.
Right.
But then they migrated, and now you don't have sealed beams anymore. You have bulbs in housings. Mm-hmm. They're not watertight, folks. They have vent holes in them for air. And if air can get in,
so can water.
So can water. My favorite, well, one of my favorite YouTubers, Eric O. on South Main Auto, has a term for that kind of stuff. He goes in, he says, I'm hunting for the green crusties. Oh, look at him, green boogers. And he's not being gross. He's talking about the fact that copper wire corrodes.
It turns green when it gets wet.
It turns green, and it gets little puffy, flaky green crap all over the place. And I'd never thought of it that way, but it's a great tool for hunting down problems, is looking for the green crusties. And if you go swimming your Jeep, expect to find the green crusties. And guess what? I swim my Jeep, and yep, I've had the green crusties. Hey, one last tip to folks. And again, I don't have the information. Well, yes, I do. Folks, if you're in the market for wire, since we were talking wiring, I found a company that sells striped wire. You know, you can buy, everybody replaces, you may have your Jeep's fuel pump, which is a common failure on TJs, is that fuel pump wire, which I had go bad, and it's red with a white stripe. But try and go down to your local auto parts store, and please don't use household wiring, it's a different installation, and try and find red with a white stripe wire. You can find red wire all day long.
Right.
You can find the right gauge pretty much without too much trouble. But try to find identifiably marked wires so that you don't have, well, it comes in as a green with a red stripe, and then somehow it turns into a big long piece of yellow, and then at the back now it's a piece of blue wire.
Yeah.
Try and circuit trace that. Good luck. And yes, I have people ask me to do that all the time. This is a company, it's called Sherco Auto and Marine Supply, SHERCO Auto and Marine Supply. Their website is sherco-auto.com. They have striper tracer wire in bulk in every frickin' color that you can imagine. What do you look at that, Scott?
Wow.
You pick your base color, and their base colors are black, green, red, white, and yellow. And their stripes can run from blue, brown, green, gray, light blue, light green, orange, pink, purple, red, tan, white, yellow.
And blue moons and purple horseshoes. I'm sorry.
And the neat thing is, it is not horrifically priced. Furthermore, I'll also point, from the marine side, this is tinned wire. That means if you strip it, it's not copper colored. It is solder colored.
Okay. That
is corrosion resistant in a wet environment.
That's good.
Which would be a great addition. If I could make any request to Jeep, I'd love them. Even if it was $1,000 option, I'd pay it to get a harness with marine grade wire. Just because I like to get my Jeep wet. Yeah. But a 25-foot spool is $27. It's about $1 a foot. Is that expensive? Yeah, compared to the regular stuff you get, but this is
proper colors,
proper gauges. Okay, you can get it in 8 gauge. They have tables for all things 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22. And you can see, they've got little pictures. It's the main difference is in the marine world, the stripes do not run consistently straight. They spiral around. And between you and me, I'm okay with that, because a red with a white stripe, I can go red,
it's still red with a white stripe.
Whether it spirals around the wire, after a wire's been in a harness, it spirals anyway. You remember opening that up.
Oh, yeah.
So it's kind of neat that we've got a click on gauge size and button to show all color combinations, and they have a part number for every single mix as you go through it. And like I said, they start as big as 8 gauge, which is pretty much, other than battery cables, you're not going to get anything bigger than 8 gauge in most automotive situations. They have 10 gauge, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, and 22, again in any color and striping that you would want. So if you're doing a restoration and you want to build your own harness that is correct in terms of color and tracing so that wiring diagrams are followable, and as he's pointing out to me,
it's resistant to acid, alkaline, abrasion, flame, gasoline, oil, moisture, just about everything my Jeep leaks.
Right, and that's basically marine grade, because, when you're out in the water, if it blows up, burns, melts, it's kind of hard to get home to fix it. So this stuff is really good. It is insulation's 20 degrees to 105 degrees Celsius. Okay, but still flexible. It is a fine stranded 10 to copper. It's ASTM rated, not that you'd really care, but it's really a high-end wire. So when you see the price of 25 feet is $27, oh my God, that's what you're paying for. You're paying for a high-end, do-it-once product.
Right.
Because otherwise, try to go out and find striped wire, and you'll get wire strippers. You will not get
good point
wire with stripes. So anyway, I thought I'd share that to you. Now they do have automotive electrical wire as well, and it comes in sets, but it does not come color coded. It's just bulk rolls of primary wire, and you can get assorted colors, is what they tell you. And I haven't found it, but you can kind of see there. I think if I go to let's take a looky see. It comes in solid colors. It's not a striper mark.
Yeah, so it's just primary wire.
It's just primary wires. You can get it in any gauge you want, and it's not too bad. It's spool lengths are 25, 150 foot, and it varies. 25 foot's about $9. 100 foot spools about $28, and this may be subject to change if you're listening to this other than January of 2021. But so that gives you an idea that you're paying a little more than double for the 10 to our almost triple, I'll be honest with you, but it's a fine gauge, which means it'll carry more amperage. It's a marine grade and ASTM certified. So again, how much do you want to pay for quality, and how much do you want to pay for authenticity?
And how much you want to pay for not doing it again?
Well, and so I throw this out to you for an American made product that meets the requirements, that would probably work great in any Jeep. And heretofore, I've never been able to find striped wire, other than the only other place I've ever found it is going to the junkyard, the pick-pull place, and finding a vehicle. This is how cannibalistic I've been. People are like, well, God, there aren't any Jeeps in the junkyard. No, they're not, but they're made by FICA. So there are some pretty neat FICA boats out there in the scrap heaps that, guess what? They use the same color system in their wiring, and I'll go out and grab the body harness or the unengined major bulk harness, and I can sometimes get them as long as 10 feet in a run, and they charge me per pound for a copper wire, but it's salvage price, and I have to disassemble it and clean it up, and it's not spooled, so I just do little hand spools. You probably see them in my box, the little loops where it's all wound up, and that's where I've been getting my color-coded wire. Now I'm going to probably just buy it by the spool, clean.
You buy time, buy lunch, spend the gas, the day, the
entrance fee and all that stuff. So anyway, wasted enough time on the chit-chat.
Yep.
Remember, take care of your Jeep. It'll take care of you. Manufacturer warranties are there to protect against their defects, not against misuse, abuse, whatever you want to call it.
Doesn't mean you break it, we fix it.
Yeah, I guess that's probably the punchline of this whole show.
Well, hey, we hope you guys liked the really long, extra long show today.
Holy cow. Yep. Well, last time I looked, it wasn't that bad. It was 45 minutes, and now it's an hour and 37. So maybe we'll section it into two. That's up to you.
I might do that. Part A, Part B. We'll see.
A, Part B.
Depends on how lazy I am today.
Okay. So, folks, with that, as we always say, when we get to the end of the show, it's time for me to lock my hubs, both of us to put our Jeeps in 4 low, and go out and hit the trail.
Yeah.
And please, and I can't stress this enough because it has come up a couple times here in Florida. Remember, wheel legal. Stay off those posted areas that are not open to vehicles. If the gate is closed or if there's a fence post, it doesn't mean go make a new opening.
Yep.
Tread lightly. That means, when you have sensitive areas, you don't go out and do donuts. You don't tear up turf. Most of the forest areas have a limited ecosystem, and you can destroy it very quickly with the horsepower in your Jeep. So tread lightly. I guess
take nothing but pictures, memories, and your trash when you leave the trail.
I was waiting for him to clue in on that. Leave it there for our kids and our kids' kids. Nature can take hundreds of years to recover from a single errant off-roading event, shall we call it. And if you ever have any questions about, well, how long can it be, do you realize that the western expansion, the wagon train trails, are still visible in the prairies?
I don't doubt it.
And they had nothing but horses, oxen, and mules pulling, Conestoga sailors, whatever they call the Conestoga wagons, the prairie schooners. That's what they call them.
Prairie schooners. Yeah, I'm just thinking about the little house.
Yeah, well, but
good old Laura Ingalls.
Yeah, good old Laura Ingalls. So, anyway, folks, we hope you enjoyed this little show. As we've said before, please send us any emails, questions, comments, love, hate, suggestions for other topics. We'd love to hear them, and we will see you in another 2 weeks. The next show.
Yeah, time for me to go run down a hill for flowers.
I don't.
The beginning of the show, the little girl running down the hill of flowers.
Okay.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, Patreons. I had to do it.
Holy shit, how did we end up with a hour and 40-minute show? Patrons are going, what the hell? He's still talking.